Welcome to the Fayetteville Fire Podcast, your source for all the safety, fire, and sometimes random info you never knew you wanted. I'm Captain Stephen Shakeshaft, your host for the podcast, and I've got the best job ever. Let's talk about it. What's going on, Chief?
Nothing much, just glad to be here and appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. So it's been, wow, what year did you retire?
2019.
2019. So how many years did you do before with the city?
35.
35. I'm doing some math here. What year does that equal you started? I can't do it in my head.
Well, I started in 1984.
84. Do I tell you that I wasn't born yet?
Just make me feel a little bit older.
When I got hired, by the time I got to the city, you were already, I believe, the battalion chief over training when I came in, which you've probably had so many different positions. You don't even remember when that was, but you came into the fire department in the 70s, you just said?
80s.
Seems
like 70s.
70s, yeah.
A long time ago.
You came in the 80s, and you have just seen so much change in the fire service in general and the Fayetteville Fire Department, and you coming up the ranks, you were able to be a part of that. But what was it like coming in the 80s, rolling into the Fayetteville Fire Department? Just, you had no experience when you got hired, right?
None whatsoever.
What were you doing before that?
I just completed a degree at Pembroke State University.
Oh, yeah.
Ages me.
Yeah. So what was that like walking in, just new world, trying something different?
Totally new. Fire service wasn't even on my radar. It was just one of those things, graduated, okay, now I got to get a real job and start looking at things. And I saw Fayetteville Fire Department. I said, okay, that sounds interesting. At least a good start to start making some money and then go from there.
What'd you go to college for?
Business administration.
Okay. All right, cool.
And actually, I thought I would work with the fire department maybe 2 years or so, save some money, and then relocate to Atlanta, going southwest or Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
2 years turned into 35 plus.
Turned into 35. So you said you went for business management, business administration type stuff. What made you, it was just you wanted a job? Was there anything that made you want to do the fire service?
No, it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
I didn't come up thinking that I want to be a firefighter. Didn't know much about the fire service. It just happened to be one of those things. I saw the ad in the paper. I was doing the job search thing.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and it's fire department. That sounds interesting, at least. And so I circled it and then started doing a little research, and it wasn't bad. But I think the plan was still to just save some money and then relocate. When you're young, everybody want to get away from home.
Oh, yeah. That's how I wound up here. That's exactly how I wound up in Fayetteville. 19 years old, dropped out of college myself and wound up here just by happenstance, and it worked out great. So back in the 80s, obviously, environments were very different. Training was very different. How did they even get you trained up? You didn't have an academy like we did you?
Actually, we did. And
did you?
We were probably one of the first academies as we know it.
Really?
There were 14 in my class. So we had a class of 14, and it's interestingly enough, 7 of the 14 were no experience, and minority and female. So we had half and half.
Wow.
So it made for an interesting mix. A little intimidating when you're sitting next to, someone who's been in the fire service for a while. Now I throw some names out there: Nixon Spell, Buddy Russell.
Yeah.
That group.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there not knowing anything except fire is hot, and
Yeah.
It's just a little intimidating, but it didn't take long to kind of blend in and good help along the way.
So I've always said, you brought up that half the class was underrepresented population that year. The Fayetteville Fire Department, in my experience and my work that I've done over the last 6 years, people talk all the time about coming into a predominantly white male job. And Chief Dove says all the time, he says, fire doesn't discriminate, and neither do we. That's just how it is, right? But it also, how does that feel? How does that make you, what's the word? does it feel different when you're walking into an environment that there's just not a lot of minorities around? Does that make you feel a certain way or think about things or see things a different way?
It does, and I mean, just naturally, I think a benefit for me, I was a military brat.
Okay.
So all the posts, places we lived were diverse.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite as impactful for me. But you still feel some pressure, whether it's self-administrated or, you seem to be under the microscope, whether it's real or not. It's just something that you put upon yourself. But I was fortunate enough to work along with some good people. When I first got out of the academy, the whole 9 yards, I was assigned to old Station 1 on Bow Street. God, I'm old. We didn't have horses. No, but I was assigned to Station 1. We had about 13, 14 people, and I was the only African-American there, no females. So, you kind of feel pressure, but I think you put it upon yourself.
You come into the Fayetteville Fire Department and you truly do join a family, and then some younger people are like, this family don't act like mine, this family don't look like mine, this family don't eat the same food as mine. So it's just as much as us reaching out to the different demographics of folks. Also, you kind of got to assimilate a little bit yourself too. Kind of like, does that kind of make sense? Or I'm asking, how did you feel?
Well,
Did you feel that way too?
And you got to, I think an individual must make sure that they are heard.
Yeah.
It's not that people don't want to listen to you. It's just that you're not putting your thoughts and your ideas out there to be absorbed.
I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah.
You may think you have a good idea, but due to, like I said, pressure put upon yourself and not wanting to look a certain way or be perceived as in a different manner, you may be hesitant about putting your information out there.
Yeah.
And so, but that's on the individual. In most cases, you will find out that your ideas, your thoughts are accepted.
Yeah.
And it's all a part of the, just coming from different backgrounds.
Yeah. I tell the rookies all the time, we want you to have ideas. We want you to think outside the box. There's a way to present that. And it doesn't matter what you look like or who you are. You're a rookie.
Yeah.
So it's not that we don't want to hear what you have to say. There's just a time and a place to do it, and some folks are afraid to step up and say those things. So you just got to have that self-confidence and also tact to know when to say those things, right? Cool. So started off at Bow Street, did some years on the floor, and then I know you eventually went to inspections? I've seen some old pictures of you from the 80s in inspections.
I was fortunate enough to spend time in just about every division throughout my career. Of course, started out on an engine company, then moved to a truck company. When I said truck company back then, it was a tandem. A truck and a squad ran together.
Yep.
So a company of 4 and someone was always on vacation. So really you had a company of 3. So you may be on the truck by yourself, but you had help coming. And that's just a whole different dynamic than what we see today. But spent time on the truck company, promoted to lieutenant, went to the prevention division, learned quite a bit. And so that's where I began to see things from different perspectives. As a firefighter, you're in response mode. It's lights, siren, action, let's go. And then you start understanding that, hey, there's different aspects to the department, to the fire service.
Yeah.
And I think that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I tell everybody, I did 14 years on the line before I came to an admin role, and I've worked harder in the last 5.5 years than I worked in the whole 14 years on the fire truck.
I believe it.
When you're off duty on a fire truck, you're off, and everything gets done while you're gone. When you're an admin, if you're not there, the work's still piling up.
I always used to tell my company, you're responding to a different type of fire.
Yeah.
You're still in response mode, but it's totally different.
Yep. Yeah. So you went to inspections for a little while, and then what was next? Because I think you were overtraining when I got hired, I think.
Yeah, I promoted from inspections or fire prevention, went to Station 6, where I had 2 engine companies at Station 6. They were building Station 8, so 8 was running out of Station 6.
Okay.
And then, interestingly enough, I applied to join the hazmat team and took a detour and went to the training division instead and spent 5 years in training.
And that was as a captain there? Okay. Cool. So fast forward, you've made it through, you've gone through training, became a battalion chief. And back then we just had assistant chiefs, right? Did we not have a deputy chief back in those days, or did we have deputies?
We had
You did
a
have
deputy
just
chief.
single deputy.
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. So working your way up, and then time comes, it's time for you to possibly test to become the fire chief. Go through the process, go through everything with the city manager, and here is Chief Major. What's that feel like?
Humbling,
Yeah.
exciting. On one hand, unbelievable. I never would have thought growing up that I would be a firefighter, much less a fire chief of a department as large as ours. So, I mean, it was just a bag of mixed emotions, but it was exciting.
Yeah. And we had just got accredited for the first time when you came in, right?
We were working on it,
Working on the first accreditation?
yes.
Oh, I thought we got accredited before you became chief.
No,
So we're still working on it at that point.
And it was after. And I can't take the credit. We had a lot of good people working on it and different groups working on it. But we actually became accredited after I became chief.
Okay, cool. So you come in, and I do believe you were the first African-American chief, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that anytime I go anywhere in the city of Fayetteville, it doesn't matter where I go in Fayetteville, everybody asks if I know Chief Majors. Do you know Chief Majors?
That could be a double-edged sword. He owes me money.
I said, you mean Chief Major? But you had a lot of community impact. Everybody seemed to know you. You did a lot of outreach. You did a lot of kind of expanding the envelope with that accreditation, right? You didn't lay the groundwork for accreditation, but as becoming accredited under you, we really, whether it came to data for planning for events and using data more to gear our direction, strategic planning, all that stuff was happening before, but it felt like you brought that to the forefront. You really kind of pushed new envelopes and how was that? I mean, is that another thing that kind of, is it a pressure thing as the first African American fire chief wanting to put, like you said, do I need to work harder? No, I don't need to work harder, but you feel that kind of way, or how did that kind of?
Anybody, including myself, you feel a certain amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Because, you're representing not just yourself, you're representing a group of people, you're working, representing the department as a whole. You're representing Cumberland County Schools. I was a product of Cumberland County Schools. So there's a lot of facets, a lot of different things that you think about. But for me, I think the key was, it's not one individual. It's not Chief Major. It's not Chief Dove. It wasn't Chief Hill, Chief Nichols, whoever. It's who you surround yourself with that makes the department. Yeah. So I went in thinking my primary job is setting the tone, ethically, morally, whatever the case may be, setting the tone, and then making sure that you have people in the right place to help influence that and push that throughout the department.
Yeah, I kind of put you on the spot with that question because I was getting to, you brought up Cumberland County Schools. I hear a lot about the example that you set and the role model that you have been for young people in Fayetteville. They have utilized you in some ads for Cumberland County Schools I've seen here recently. And Chief Major is not only somebody that these kids can look up to physically because you're so tall, but look, they can look up to your legacy here in Fayetteville, and it's something that you can be proud of, and proud of like you said, proud of the people that you surrounded yourself with and the fire department. It means something to the town, not just the fire department. And that's just something that I always thought was kind of cool that you had the opportunity to impact on.
Well, I appreciate that, and hopefully it was a positive impact.
Yeah. Okay. So, how about retirement life? How's retirement life treating you?
Man, I always kid with people. I said, man, if I knew retirement was this good, I would have retired 35 years ago before I even got started. But I've really been enjoying it. Opportunity to do some of the things that I've always wanted to do, had planned on doing when I retired, and been fortunate enough to be in the position I could do some of those things.
Yeah.
I actually retired on a Friday, March 1st, And one of my goals, I always wanted to do a safari. So I retired Friday, March 1st. The next Friday, I was sitting in the middle of the Serengeti on the safari.
That's absolutely
it
awesome.
don't get any better than that.
Yeah. Still keep up. You had mentioned off air before we got started that you still keep up with some of the old fire chiefs and old city folks. So you still get to go out, have lunch, catch up with them.
Yes, particularly Chief Nichols and some of other retired employees. Craig Hampton was the project manager at the time. Even Hugh Sifford, Assistant Chief Hugh Sifford. We meet once a month and sit down and have lunch and see who tells the biggest stories.
Chief Sifford's still coming around teaching.
Oh, yeah.
He's still around.
Pretty active. But it's fun to sit with people that you came through the department with and talk about old times. And then when you stop by a station, it's like, man, look at the changes.
You probably don't recognize 50% of the people in the department at this point.
And that'll be a low estimate, 50%.
Yeah.
I walk into stations and I'm like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
Just no clue. But everybody I've come in contact with seem to be great people, easy to approach and strike up a conversation with. Quick story, just
fire away.
I kind of work out, try to
Say it ain't so.
try to stay in shape a little bit. But I was at the gym and I saw a guy with the fire department T-shirt on. Didn't know him. I said, fire department, who is this guy? So I went up and said, hey man, you work with the fire department? And he said, yeah, son. I said, oh. He said, you looking for a job? I said, what's the starting salary? And he told me the starting salary. I said, I don't think I'll go back. I told him I used to be with the fire department now. Then once we got to talk, he said, oh, yeah, okay. But it was kind of funny.
What's your thoughts on that new starting salary? These guys coming in making more than I was a 10-year lieutenant not making what they're making right now.
I tell, especially young people, when I talk to young people, I still have a lot of conversations about the fire department and recruiting.
Yeah.
In less official capacity now. Hey, tell your son or your daughter, or y'all need to look at the fire department, best kept secret. But I tell them, now, of course it was ancient, 1984. When I started, the starting salary was $11,125 a year.
Yikes.
When I retired, I was off the chart. In 35 years. I said, and that's just, you don't have it any better than that.
Yeah. Just in the 20 I've been here, it's gone crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, great opportunities.
So before we wrap up too much, I am curious, and if you can't share, you can't share. But the old fire chiefs and the old guards sitting around chatting and drinking coffee. How's the fire department looking? How do you think we're doing?
Great, promising. It's promising. We look back and say, man, I remember the equipment you guys have now, the equipment, the technology, and I saw a lot of that coming along the way. But each year it's just like leaps and bounds ahead.
Yeah.
Each year, the fire service has changed so much. When I came on in 1984, my group, we were the first group. That's when the trend of everybody having their own face mask and air pack became a thing.
Yeah.
When I came on, there was people who still wouldn't wear the air pack. It was just new stuff. Now, you try to respond to an incident without the protective gear you have now, and people are going to raise sand.
Yeah.
When my first fire, brand spanking new, everything shiny, and I was breathing in, and I'm looking around, and guys just in there with no mask on, cigarette hanging out the mouth when they come out.
That's the next thing I was going to say.
And I'm like, man, but man, the changes since then is just light years.
Yeah. It's been watching the department change, and when I talk to younger firefighters, people who are already working here, no matter what their gripe is, everybody's got, those little things that they're going to gripe about. You can't forget where we came from and how far we've come. All these things that could be wrong. Think about what we did to make it better. Always remember the changes that we've made to make it better. And holy cow, it's like in 35 years of your service and 20 years of mine, it's come so far. And I'm excited for the future. So while we're wrapping up, you said a lot of times you call me from the gym. I laughed when you said that, because you'll call me about some kid you met at the gym. young person looking to get into the fire service right now, it's Black History Month, hot topic. What can you tell that young kid that's thinking, hey, maybe I want to give this a try? What's the words of wisdom from Chief Major?
The simple thing is do it. Get your application together. Now you guys take applications once a year, probably in January.
Yep, just got done.
So you know when it's coming. Do your homework. Okay, what do I need to do before then? And have everything in place to apply. But definitely apply, because the opportunities for a young person, I mean, you're talking 18 years, 18 to 22, and even older, but 18 coming out of school, no experience required. They're going to teach you everything you need to know to work. They're going to give you all the equipment you need to work. And the opportunities just it's there. Take the step, get into it, and you'll be amazed with what you can accomplish.
For sure. Yeah, how old were you when you got hired?
22.
22. Yeah, I was 20 walking in the door, so I know 49. I'm retiring and getting paid the rest of my life.
I know, nothing like it, huh?
Opportunities are just there. Well, Chief Major, hey, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. I promised I wouldn't keep you too long, but it's good to have you get to see your face around here and say hey to some folks. So thank you again for coming.
Well, I appreciate the invite. Anytime.
And thanks for joining us for the Fayetteville Fire Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Radio Fayetteville on your favorite streaming platform to listen to all of our podcasts. Join us next month, but until then, stay safe, Fayetteville.